So, in this short video, I will be talking about some Nod-Krai lore crumbs, making some predictions, and looking at all the information we know about this place. Well, since Nod-Krai isn't released yet, there isn't as much to discuss without some degree of speculation. But as always, this is just my interpretation of the lore, and since I don't look at leaks, I can only use the official information and speculate about the rest. But with that out of the way, let's start with the lore. Well, first, let's just take a look at some possible real-world origins of Nod-Krai. Well, the word Krai means something like a region or a part of some territory in various languages, even in my native language, and Nod-Krai as a whole could be a reference to Northern Krai, which was a part of Soviet Russia and it was located in the north of the European part of Russia before the Second World War. So maybe some of the inspirations from Nod-Krai come from that place at the time. So, Nod-Krai is supposed to be located in the southern part of Snezhnaya, and according to all the information we have, it's highly implied to be a vastly different place from anything we have seen before. Probably also very different from the rest of Snezhnaya. While it's still considered a part of Snezhnaya, the region is supposed to be largely autonomous, and it's said that various factions gather here. Libet mentions that people all over Teyvat gather here, especially in order to get rich. He also warns us to be careful once we get there, because rich people easily become targets. It's said that this land is not entirely under the influence of the Fatui, like the rest of Snezhnaya, and is instead being protected and governed by the forces of the Voynich Guild. By the way, Liben also said that they helped him recover his stolen goods, and that they bought it from him after that. At the end of the Archon quest, Mavika told us some lore crumbs. Apparently, the people of Nod-Krai are able to use some kind of special power that predates even the 7 elements. Hearing this immediately reminded me of Skrk and how she mentioned the power up from beyond. The same power also seems to be mentioned at the end of the travel trailer, when Dainsleif says that humanity will use the power from beyond to defy this world. But to be fair, it's hard to say if they really meant the same kind of power, but assuming they did, I wonder if this mysterious power from Nod-Krai is this exact power from beyond. If that is the case, it's probably somehow connected to the Abyss, or at least it seems to be in the case of Skrk and Dainsleif. Speaking of Skrk, she is probably going to be somehow somewhere related to Nod-Krai in terms of story, since according to the roadmap by the devs, it seems she should be releasing around the same time as Nod-Krai, and she is a character that's important to the point that there needs to be some sort of Archon quest for her appearance to make any sense in my opinion. Anyway, that was a lot of speculation, but Bavika also told us that Dotore has a Fatui stronghold there, and that lately, Nod-Krai is even more dangerous than usual. A lot of the Fatui activity in Nod-Krai could be connected to the ancient moon fragments that can be seen beyond the false sky in Natlan. Well, Nod-Krai as a whole could be connected to the ancient moon fragments. By the way, just as a side note here, it's interesting that the hole in the sky and the moon fragments can only be seen from Natlan. Once you step out of Natlan, they just disappear. And yes, it's actually intentional, since even the NPCs talk about this fact. It makes a lot of sense why someone like Dotore would be interested in the moon fragments. Well, first of all, he is a researcher who takes his research very seriously, and he's also the one who told Nahida about the false sky, which means that he might be interested in what the hole in the sky in Natlan implies. Anyway, we have other sources which state that the Fatui forces have been gathering in Nod-Krai lately, especially the 2 Fatui agents that are always discussing the latest news in Mondstadt. This time they mentioned even the moon fragments and Capitano's position remaining as is. Also Helka, a guy from one of the recent events, mentioned that the Fatui returned at some point to Nod-Krai and moved a lot of construction supplies in, with the rumors of a certain Harbinger's presence, which probably means Dotore. As I said before, there is a number of reasons to think that the power from beyond could be connected to Nod-Krai, along with the moon fragments. This is probably supported by the fact that there are statues of the moon deity present all across Nod-Krai. The people who worship this moon deity are called Frost Moon Scions. They are a strange group of people that live in the wilds and forests around Nod-Krai, and people generally try to stay away from them. This could be connected to the ancient moon fragments, and we know that in the past there were the 3 moon goddesses, aka the moon sisters, Arya, Sonnet and Canon. It's complicated and the sources differ a bit, but basically it's implied that they are all dead now, and the moon we see in the sky normally is just a pale corpse. It's very possible that the moon sisters predate even the 7 elements, and so it would make sense how the power of their followers would predate them as well. If you don't know much about the moon sisters, I highly recommend reading the Moonlit Bamboo Forest and Heart's Desire. And if you don't want to read books, then you can at least check out the fun animation of the Moonlit Bamboo Forest, since this part of the lore seems to be pretty important. Also, I don't think it was ever clarified if the Tsaritsa is worshipped as their deity in Nod-Krai as a normal Archon is. Maybe the people there originally all worshipped the moon deity, and only later the region became a part of Snezhnaya. If so, I don't know if the worshippers of the moon deity receive visions normally, or if they just rely on their mysterious powers, since they wouldn't acknowledge the 7. The main thing that needs to be resolved in the main story right now is that the Pyronosis is still in Natlan, and maybe Nod-Krai could work as like a bridge that connects Natlan to Snezhnaya story-wise, so whatever happens there could have something to do with the Gnosis, and how the Fatui are going to get it. Although it's hard to say if Dotore is the one who's going to get it, even though he is in Nod-Krai right now, maybe it could be Columbina, and in that case, Nod-Krai could be completely unrelated. Aside from the ties to the deeper lore, we also heard some other smaller lore crumbs, like the fact that there are supposed to be some weird crabs or something in Nod-Krai, and there is a city called Nasha Town, but the only thing we know about it for now is that someone named Katya lives there, and that the translation of the name means something like our town. No one really knows how big of a thing Nod-Krai is going to be. I've seen a lot of people suggest that 6.0 is going to be Nod-Krai instead of Snezhnaya, but I really doubt that's the case. I mean, it would make some sense, since Snezhnaya is technically an enemy territory, and even though recently the encounters between the Fatui and the Traveler were mostly not as violent, we are still most likely considered a big hindrance in their plan. But still, it's hard to imagine Nod-Krai being big and important enough of a region to be its whole separate thing. In my opinion, it's just going to be a slightly more important map expansion story-wise, like some others we had in the past, but maybe more involved in the main story. As for my predictions, here they are. Well, since we know the region is releasing before Snezhnaya, I think it will be something similar to how we got a bit of introduction to Inazuma in 1.6 before we actually got there. I think this might be a similar case, except we actually get a new region as well. This means that while Nod-Krai is a part of Snezhnaya, it will probably lack some of the common things that can be found across regions that are part of a nation in Genshin. Like for example statues of the Seven, because if they were present even in Nod-Krai, it would mean that we will have a glimpse of the Tsaritsa even before Snezhnaya releases, and I don't think the developers would want that. Also, I doubt there will be stuff like Cryoculii or sigils and such things as well, but I expect there to be some sort of Archon quest tied to this place, since getting to explore a part of Snezhnaya before its actual release has to be important story-wise, and let's also not forget that the Fatui still needs the final Gnosis, and Dottor is currently in Nod-Krai working on some secret project that sounds really important. Many people seem to think that the mysterious power from Nod-Krai could be a whole new element, but I actually think that it may just be a regional mechanic similar to something like Numosia or Phlogiston. So yeah, these are my predictions, and maybe I'll be completely wrong as usual. But that will be it for this short video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you maybe even learned something new. I really hope that there won't be any crazy lore drop about Nod-Krai in the next few weeks, since that would make this video real outdated real soon. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say, so take care and I'll see you in the next one.